Okay, so we spoke about the clinic, we spoke about detection, we spoke about pathology, and we just heard about genes and pretty good reasons to hope for better cures and personalized medicine in the future. The last presentation will be slightly different. It's not an MD, not a PhD, or an MD, PhD. It will be a testimony by someone really courageous, Kristen Work. Kristen actually had the courage to come here tonight and pass on her experience as a patient of lung cancer. And you will see by her radiance, by her energy, that there are yet more great reasons for hope against this disease. So, Kristen.
No, I don't have any letters after my name. No PhD, no nothing. I'm just a banker. Thank you, Dr. Spicer, for basically saving my life. And I'm very happy to be here tonight to tell you what my story is. So my story starts around 6 years ago. Since I was about 39 years old, I decided it was time that I get a physical checkup every year. And so I've been going to PhysiMed for about 15 years, and every year, you know, you get the blood tests, the urine tests, and all that stuff. And at 50 years old, I meet a different person, a nurse in the cancer prevention office. So she sits me down and she says, you know, you're 50 years old this year, and you know, there's a couple of bad cancers, but we know that early detection can save your life. So what are you doing about breast cancer? You know, have you ever had a colonoscopy? Have you ever been a smoker? So I said, well, breast cancer, I go to the Villa Maria Breast Clinic, and yes, I get mammograms. Colon cancer, no, never had a colonoscopy. So she says, well, we do virtual ones here, so if you're interested, you could do that. Smoker, yeah, proud to say it's been 3 years I quit smoking. Were you ever a big smoker? No, not really, not a pack-a-day smoker. I smoked about, you know, my 5 cigarettes that I had to smoke every day, and at parties, well, maybe I smoked a little bit more. Ever been exposed to secondhand smoke? Well, who of my generation wasn't? Both my parents smoked, and I was one of those kids sitting in the back seat with the windows up, and everybody smoked in the car. So it was all very exciting. So she said, well, guess what? You know, you qualify to be part of this study that we're having here at PhysiMed. And I said, oh, that's interesting. What do I have to do? She says, well, all you have to do is agree to do a CT scan every year and allow us to share the results with doctors from around the world. And I said, well, how much does this cost? And she says, well, if you have insurance, maybe it's covered. And lucky for me, it was. So the first year I do the CT scan. About 2 days later, I get a phone call and they say, good news, everything looks very good, no problems, we'll see you next year. So the second year, go for my physical, go for the CT scan. I get the report and I notice that there's a nodule that's been detected in my right lung. So I said, that's weird, that wasn't there last year. So I phone and she says, it's just a nodule, and it's funny because I read Nicole's screen and it said, you know, a lot of people have nodules and it's not necessarily something to be worried about, we'll see you next year. So year number 3, I go to PhysiMed, again I meet the girl who's taking care of this study, and I said, you know, is it really necessary for me to have another CT scan? You know, it's been like 5 years now, I've quit smoking, and you know, perhaps I don't need to do this anymore. And this lady looked at me, very serious, and she reached over the desk and she said, Christine, you do realize that your lungs will never be the same. You agreed to be part of this study. I strongly recommend that you stay in it. And again, another person that I have to thank in my life, because I took that CT scan, and year number 4, the day after the CT scan, she called me and she said, we'd like to see you tomorrow at noon. And I went, well, that doesn't sound very good. And she said, well, I can't tell you over the phone, but you know what, there's been a change and I think we need to do a further investigation. So next day I go to PhysiMed, I meet another doctor, they look at the 4 years worth of scans and they said, definitely been a change. You know, we want to fast-track you. We're connected with the Glen Hospital. We're going to schedule you right away to go and meet a lung specialist and a surgeon, and they'll take a look at it and decide what they want to do. A week later, I met Nicole, Dr. Spicer. They look at the 4 years' worth of scan, and I think I'm going there and maybe they're going to do a biopsy. And instead, they say, we know you're coming here for a biopsy, but it's really small. We're not really going to be happy with the results. Even if we do a biopsy, we're recommending surgery. So just want to put this in context. I'm at the hospital thinking I might need a biopsy. I'm looking on my BlackBerry. I'm still in a work mode. And then they say surgery. And all of a sudden, it kind of hits me going, oh, this isn't just a little nodule here. This could be something a lot more serious. Dr. Spicer explained to me what kind of surgery it would be. He said, you know, it's not as invasive. They're not cracking open my rib cage and having to recuperate for 6 months. It's like this little incision they're going to do on the side. He explains everything. I'm not listening at this point because I'm just traumatized. But then meet this nurse, and she explained to me that, you know what, I should take a day to think about it, but really recommended that I strongly take the advice of Dr. Spicer. So I go home, I tell my husband, and he says, this is nothing to dick around with. Just get the surgery done. Like maybe they've caught it early enough and you don't have to worry about it, and you don't have chemotherapy and all that stuff. Like just do the surgery. So next day, I call, I said, okay, I'm going to go through it. So now I have to go to the hospital, and there's blood tests, all the preparation for surgery, etc. And I think it took 3 weeks, and I was getting surgery. So the day of the surgery, I'm very nervous. But at this point, I still don't think I have cancer. I think it's just a nodule that they're going to take out, and it's going to be fine. So at the surgery, I'm about to be wheeled into the operating room, and I don't know if any of you have ever had operations. I didn't have. This was my biggest operation of my life, and I was extremely nervous, and Dr. Spicer came and held my hand, and he said, are you nervous? I said, you think? And he said, don't worry, you're in good hands. I'm going to take good care of you, and you're going to be fine. And he was right. The surgery was very well. And I think the operation was on a Monday, and on the Wednesday I was home. So it was that simple, and the recuperation time was like 6 weeks. It was, I was very surprised with everything. So 3 weeks after the operation, I have an appointment with Dr. Spicer, and now he's got the pathology report. And again, I walk in it's actually a good thing that you're kind of blind and you don't really give too much thought to the what ifs. And he walks in and he goes, yep, exactly what we thought, carcinoma in situ. And I'm like, wait a second, that's cancer, right? And he said, yeah, cancer. Christine, you didn't know? I said, no, actually, I didn't really think I had cancer. And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm gonna have chemotherapy, radiation. And he goes, no, but the good thing is, Christine, we took it all. He goes, you're our poster child. He said, this is exactly what we want people to do, this pre-screening of CT scans. We caught this at the earliest possible point. He said, you don't have to do chemotherapy, you don't have to do radiation. I'm gonna see you in a year, we're gonna do another CT scan, and everything's gonna be fine. And he says, and we're just gonna follow you for the next 5 years. So about 3 weeks ago, I saw Dr. Spicer, follow up after my latest CT scan, which is like 2 years later. And he said, you know what? I'm gonna see you in 2 years. He goes, we'll follow you up in 2 years. He goes, I really think you're doing really well. I don't see any signs. Your screenings are beautiful. He says, you feel healthy. And I said, I feel great. I said, I have 0 side effects from the surgery. I had a little bit of a cough afterwards, but that's all gone. I can run, I can do yoga, I can work like a dog, working at the bank, but everything is very good, and I'm very happy to have been surrounded by all these people. I don't, we talk about our medical system and maybe it's not so good. I have to say that I got the best of care, and I was surrounded by all these incredible professionals. I'm so grateful to this program, to having done that, to be part of that study. It's kind of like, I don't know, I must have been born under some kind of a lucky star, because that's not always the result that everybody gets. But so basically, that's my story. That's that's it. I'm super happy to be here. And I hope that if you have the opportunity to be part of a study or get to do these CT scans, I strongly recommend it. Thank you.